The story begins in the grand halls of the Galactic Science Council, a place where the brightest minds from hundreds of alien worlds meet to decide what is real and what is foolish. Today, the chamber is filled with laughter. Rows of alien scientists, glowing scales and metallic limbs shimmering under the lights, whisper to each other as they watch a human standing alone at the center. Her name is Dr. Alara Wynn, a scientist from Earth, small, calm, but with eyes that carry something the others do not understand. The aliens whisper, "Humans again." Always chasing myths. She thinks emotion has energy? Ridiculous. Alara stands before a floating crystal, wires connected to a cluster of emotion sensors, reading brain waves, heart rate, and something deeper. Something even she cannot name. She looks up at the council and speaks softly, her voice steady despite the crowd's laughter. This crystal responds not to numbers, not to light or sound, but to feeling. The chamber bursts into noise. An insectoid alien from the Threxan Empire clacks his mandibles. Feelings? You call this science? A tall silver-skinned being with eyes like glass shakes his head. You humans and your emotions. Always so dramatic, Alara doesn't argue. She simply turns toward the crystal and begins the test. She closes her eyes, placing her hands on the control panel. The lights dim and a hum fills the room. At first, nothing happens. The aliens exchange smirks. Some begin to record notes, already preparing their reports about another failed Terran fantasy. But then, Alara whispers something no one else hears. A name. For you, Aaron. Her brother. Lost years ago in a mining accident on Mars. The crystal flickers. Then, it ignites. A surge of light erupts from its core, flooding the hall with a glow so bright it pierces even the darkest corners. For 3 long seconds, the universe seems to stop. Every alien in the room freezes. Something moves through them, a warmth deep inside their chests, followed by a rush of pain and longing, then sudden peace. It's not electricity. It's not radiation. It feels like memory. A creature from the frozen moons of Narthul feels tears forming. Tears, a thing his species never knew. A machine being from Vora stops mid-calculation, whispering, "What? Is this signal?" And deep within his chest, Dr. Koresh, one of the galaxy's most logical minds, hears a faint sound. A heartbeat. And it isn't his own. Then the light fades. The crystal goes silent. Instantly, the council erupts in confusion. What just happened? Was that a trick?
No measurable data. It's fake.
Screens show nothing. No radiation, no power surge, no quantifiable energy. The instruments show zero change. To the machines, nothing happened. But to the living, everything did. Alara looks around the room, breathing hard. Her hands shake slightly. "You all felt it," she says quietly. "You know you did." The council chair, a massive creature with skin like stone, slams his staff down. Emotion is not energy. What you felt was illusion. The crowd agrees. They erase the recording, delete the data, and mark the experiment as failure. But one alien stays silent, Dr. Koresh. When the meeting ends, he remains seated, staring at the crystal's faint glow. He doesn't understand what happened, but the feeling still lingers. A strange echo moves through him, steady, rhythmic, thump. Thump, thump, a heartbeat. Later that night, Koresh lies in his quarters aboard the council station, unable to rest. Felthari like him do not dream. Their minds are designed for logic, not imagination. But when he closes his eyes, he sees Earth. He sees the human woman standing in the light. He feels her sadness as if it were his own. He wakes up trembling. His sensors report no physical cause, and yet in his chest something continues to beat. He whispers into the darkness, "Emotion. Can it truly travel through matter?" The next morning, the Galactic Council issues an order. Human emotional experiments are to be suspended. The data is useless. Alara is dismissed from the program. Her lab is shut down. But on Luna Base, as she gathers her things, she notices the crystal flicker again. Faint, but alive. Someone, somewhere, is feeling something. And far across the stars, Dr. Koresh touches his chest again, terrified. The heartbeat is still there. He realizes something impossible. The crystal may not have failed. It might have connected them. The night sky over Luna Base was quiet. From the transparent dome of her lab, Dr. Ilara Wynne watched Earth's blue glow rise over the horizon. Peaceful, beautiful, and distant. But she couldn't feel peace. Her experiment had been mocked, shut down, erased. The Galactic Council had labeled her discovery a psychological error. They said, feelings are not energy. They said, emotion cannot move stars. And yet, she remembered what she saw, the way the aliens froze, the tears on faces that had never known sadness. Something had happened that day, even if no machine could prove it. Ilara sighed, her fingers brushing the cracked crystal core. It still glowed faintly as if it refused to die. She whispered, "You felt it too, didn't you, Aaron?" "Just like I did." Far away in the orbiting Council Station Ethros, Dr. Koresh of the Velthari stared into the dark. Velthari did not need sleep. Their species had evolved past that weakness centuries ago. But tonight his eyes refused to close. His mind refused silence. Every time he tried to think, that same strange rhythm echoed inside him. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't his body. It wasn't his kind's biology. It was something else. Something human. He pressed his hand against his chest. "It won't stop," he whispered. His scanners confirmed no damage, no implant malfunction. And yet he felt grief. He didn't even understand the word until he searched the human database. Grief. An emotional response to loss. But what had he lost? He didn't know. Still, the pain was real. 2 days later, the council held another meeting. Most dismissed Ilara's experiment completely, but Koresh couldn't. He spoke out. "We cannot ignore what happened. Our readings were 0, yes, but we were changed. Something beyond instruments affected us." Laughter filled the room. A reptilian senator hissed, "You sound infected, Koresh. Perhaps the humans have poisoned your logic." Koresh clenched his jaw. He wanted to argue, but he couldn't explain it either. The council ordered all Terran research suspended permanently. They banned travel to Luna Base. But for Koresh, that only deepened the questions. Later that night, as the station lights dimmed, he saw something impossible. The faint glow of a crystal reflection on his table. It pulsed softly in rhythm with his heartbeat. He didn't own any crystal. It was a vision, a call. He knew where it was coming from. Luna Base had Koresh left without permission. A single transport pod broke orbit, cutting through the void toward Earth's moon. Inside, Koresh sat in silence, trying to steady his shaking hands. Velthari bodies weren't made to shake. Their nerves didn't respond to fear until now. When he landed, the airlock opened to the quiet hum of Luna Base. Ilara stood inside the research bay, startled by the sight of an alien scientist walking through her ruined lab. "Dr. Koresh?" He nodded, his glowing eyes dim with exhaustion. "I had to see it again. I can't think. I can't calculate. Ever since your test, something is wrong." She tilted her head. "Wrong or different?" Koresh paused. He didn't have an answer. He approached the crystal, cracked and dim. "This caused it," he said. "It must be stopped." Ilara smiled faintly. "Then why did you come back?" The question hit him harder than expected. He had no logic for it, only need. He sighed. "I want to understand what I felt." Ilara hesitated, then nodded. "Then you'll help me test it again." She reconnected the damaged equipment, rerouting power from the emergency grid. The lights flickered as she activated the sensors. Koresh stepped closer. The air felt thick, charged like before a storm. "Put your hand here," Ilara said, pointing to the control pad. He hesitated. "You want me to feel?" "Yes, don't think. Just remember." Koresh slowly placed his hand on the pad. The crystal flickered once, twice, then began to glow. Images flashed through his mind, places he'd never seen. A red planet, a child laughing, a man's voice. "Ilara, you can do this." And then, darkness, he gasped, stepping back. "Who was that?" Ilara's eyes widened. "That was my brother." Koresh stared at his shaking hands. "I saw his memory. I felt his loss," Ilara whispered. "Now you understand." The crystal pulsed brighter, feeding on their shared emotion. Not data, not power, but feeling itself. A silent wave moved through the lab. The air shimmered like heat. Koresh fell to his knees. He was a scientist, illogical, cold, a creature of equations. And yet he was crying. "I can't." "Stop it," he said through trembling breaths. "It hurts, but it's beautiful." Ilara knelt beside him. That's emotion, Doctor. That's what connects us all. The hum of the machine grew louder. The walls trembled. Lights exploded around them, readings spiking, frequencies unknown. Koresh shouted over the noise, "What's happening?" Ilara looked at the monitors. It's reaching out. It's spreading. Outside, energy rippled from Luna Base into the void, unseen by sensors, undetectable by machines, but alive, flowing through living minds. Across the stars, hundreds of beings paused suddenly. They felt something strange, warmth, sadness, compassion, emotions they had no words for. And at that same moment, the Galactic Council's AI systems began malfunctioning. Readings scrambled, sensors failed, logic cores crashed. Koresh watched in horror as the crystal burned white-hot, then went dark. Silence. He looked at Ilara. "What did we do?" She met his eyes calmly. "We didn't destroy anything, Koresh. We just made the ghee." Days passed after the Luna Base incident, but the galaxy could not stay calm. Invisible waves had rippled across space. No sensors could see them. No scanners could measure them, yet everyone felt them. On planets of ice and fire, on ships lost between stars, strange reports began to spread. A captain who had never known fear suddenly felt sorrow for a fallen crewmate. A machine being paused mid-calculation and whispered a name it did not know. Something had changed. In the main hall of the Galactic Science Council, fear replaced laughter. The leaders replayed recordings of Luna Base. Every screen showed the same thing: light, energy, then silence. But behind the numbers was something they could not erase: emotion. Dr. Koresh stood before them, his hands trembling. "This is no virus," he said. "It's a resonance. It moves from mind to mind like a signal carried by empathy." The council chair hissed, "Then build a formula. Find a cure." Koresh lowered his eyes. He had already tried. Back on Luna Base, Dr. Ilara Wynn worked beside him. The lab was dim, the air thick with tension. Monitors glowed with endless equations, lines of alien and human code woven together. Koresh entered data again and again, searching for patterns, frequency, wavelength, neural charge, anything that could define what they had unleashed. Nothing fit. He rubbed his temples. Every reaction must have a value. Every force must have a unit. But this, Ilara looked up from her console, is not a force. It's a feeling, Koresh snapped, frustration rising. Feelings do not bend sensors. Look at these readings, empty, yet something happened. There must be logic. Ilara stayed calm. Maybe the logic isn't in the machines, Koresh. Maybe it's inside us. He stared at her. Her human calm unsettled him more than chaos ever could. For days they tested every variable. They locked the crystal in vacuum chambers, placed it under radiation, froze it, heated it. Still, when one of them felt something, fear, joy, grief, the crystal responded no cause. No formula. Koresh began to record his own symptoms. He dreamed again. He saw Ilara's brother, though he had never met him. He felt the memory of loss, he wrote in his notes. Emotional transfer confirmed. Logical identity unstable. He stopped writing after that. No equation could describe what he was becoming. Across the galaxy, chaos grew. Ships reported spontaneous shutdowns of AI systems. War fleets halted mid-battle as soldiers froze, feeling sudden guilt. A council destroyer, ordered to bombard a rebel moon, stopped when the commander began to cry. Emotion had become contagious. One night, Koresh sat alone in the lab. Ilara slept nearby, exhaustion finally winning. He stared at the crystal faintly glowing on the desk. He whispered, "You defy all reason." He reached out to touch it, and saw flashes again. Children laughing. A human mother singing. A soldier dying with a smile. Koresh gasped and pulled back. Tears blurred his vision. For a long moment, he simply watched one roll down his metallic cheek. A Velthari tear, impossible. Yet there it was. He whispered to himself, "If emotion can travel, then what stops it from spreading forever?" A thought chilled him. What if this was not discovery? What if this was infection? The next morning, alarms blared. Council ships surrounded Luna Base. Their message was clear: surrender the experiment or face termination. Ilara read the transmission and frowned. "They think we can control it," she said. Koresh nodded slowly. "And if we can't, they'll destroy us both." He opened his last calculation file full of broken symbols and half-solved lines. At the bottom he had written in trembling script, "Emotion travels faster than light, but only through living hearts." He turned to Ilara. "We must stop the council from killing what they don't understand." "And how do we do that?" she asked. He looked at the crystal. "By showing them the truth." Before dawn, they transmitted one final signal, a live feed to the entire galactic network. Billions watched as the human and the alien stood side by side before the crystal. Ilara spoke first. "You called us irrational. You said emotion is weakness, but emotion built every world you live on. It drives creation and now it connects us all." Koresh added quietly, "If you destroy this, you destroy yourselves, because it is already within you." The council ordered the feed cut, but before the screen went dark, Ilara touched the crystal one last time. The glow exploded, brighter, stronger, wider. The signal leapt through every open channel, every ship, every mind. Even those watching from light years away felt it. They felt humanity. Across the galaxy, equations failed. Computers shut down, but hearts opened. A child on a war-torn world felt laughter for the first time. A general dropped his weapon. An android painter looked at its own creation and whispered, "Beautiful." And somewhere deep in the council core, the logic AIs began to malfunction, because they, too, had started to feel Ilara and Koresh collapsed as the light faded. The lab was silent except for their breathing. Koresh turned to her, eyes wide. "What have we done?" Ilara smiled weakly. "Maybe what we were always meant to do." Outside, the council fleet stopped moving. No one fired. For the first time in history, the galaxy was quiet, not in fear, but in wonder. Suspense hook for next part. The signal was now everywhere, alive in every mind, beyond control or measurement. The council wanted order, but the universe had begun to feel, and that meant the age of cold reason was about to collapse. The galaxy changed overnight. One day logic ruled everything. The next logic broke. The wave of human emotion, the light born from Luna Base, had spread faster than anything known to science. It passed through stars, through networks, through minds. No machine could stop it. No formula could define it. For the first time in galactic history, entire civilizations began to feel. In the capital world of Vora Prime, the Galactic Council stood in panic. Their war fleets were silent. Their AIs had gone offline, confused by feelings they couldn't compute. Reports came in from every quadrant. Soldiers refusing to fight. Robots painting strange, beautiful shapes. Traders giving food away to strangers, and still, no one knew what caused it. But the Council did. They blamed one planet. They blamed Earth. "Destroy Luna Base," ordered the Council chair, his stone-like skin cracking from stress.
She unleashed this contagion.
"Before it infects everything, end it." An armada of 40 ships was sent toward Earth's moon. Inside Luna Base, Dr. Ilara Wynn stood beside Dr. Koresh, staring at the sky from the observation dome. Silver trails burned through the black. Warships descending. Ilara exhaled slowly. "They're coming." Koresh looked at her. His once cold eyes now held something deeply human, fear. "They won't listen. They think this is a weapon." "Maybe it is," Ilara whispered, "but not the kind they understand." She turned toward the lab where the crystal, unfractured and unstable, pulsed faintly with light. Every few seconds it sent out another wave like a heartbeat. Koresh stepped closer. "Can we stop it?" Ilara shook her head. "No, it's not in the machine anymore." "It's in them," she looked at him. "In us." Outside, the first council destroyer fired. A brilliant blue beam tore across the moon's surface, hitting the outer labs. The ground trembled. Luna Base shook violently. Koresh grabbed the control table. "They'll kill us before they understand." Ilara slammed her hand on the console. "Then they'll feel it before they do." The crystal surged. Light filled the lab once again. Koresh shielded his eyes. "Ilara, what are you doing?" "Sending a message," she said through the roar of the energy. "One last message." The signal burst outward, not as sound, not as data, but as emotion, hope, fear, love, desperation. Every ship in orbit felt it. Crew members froze at their stations as waves of feeling crashed through them. One commander dropped his weapon controls, shaking. He remembered his child, something he hadn't thought about in years. Another soldier cried for the first time in his life. The council ships hesitated. No one could fire again, and in the heart of the Council's command ship, the chair himself felt something alien. Remorse. "Stop the attack," he whispered. I can't." But his officers stared blankly. Their minds were collapsing under the weight of emotion. Back on Luna Base, Alara collapsed beside the crystal. Its glow dimmed, flickering like a dying star. Koresh caught her before she fell. "Alara, stop. You'll burn yourself out," she smiled weakly. "It's not burning me. It's burning through everything." The lab's systems failed one by one. Power lights died. Screens went dark. Only the crystal's pulse remained, then steady, slow, alive. Koresh looked out the viewport. Ships hung motionless, drifting like lost ghosts. "You did it," he whispered. "You stopped the war." Alara shook her head faintly. "No, we didn't stop it. We changed it." Hours passed. Emergency lights flickered over the quiet ruins of Luna Base. Koresh sat beside Alara's still body. She was unconscious but breathing. He turned his gaze to the crystal. It no longer glowed bright, just a soft amber hue like a candle at the edge of darkness. He picked it up carefully. In its reflection, he saw not equations or data, but faces. Millions of them, human, alien, machine, all connected through one invisible web. He whispered, "Emotion is not weakness. It's the strongest link we have." He clenched his fist, "and they will fear it until they feel it themselves." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, chaos turned to silence. Armies disbanded. AI cores refused to follow cruel orders. Entire governments collapsed under the weight of newfound empathy. The galaxy wasn't dying. It was waking up. But for the Council, this awakening meant only one thing: loss of control. Without logic, they were not. Weeks had passed since the event at Luna Base, but the ripple of human emotion had not faded. Instead, it had spread. Across the stars, reports came in from worlds far beyond the Council's control. On Threxan Prime, a colony of insectoid warriors had ceased fighting over territory. They sat in silence, heads lowered, feeling remorse they had no name for. On the frozen moons of Narthul, miners abandoned their machines to comfort one another after sensing grief and fear, emotions entirely foreign to them. Even the Vora AI systems were shutting down, unable to compute commands as feelings pulsed through their circuits. The galaxy was changing, one mind at a time. In the heart of the Council's capital, panic spread faster than the emotion itself. Advisors argued, fingers trembling, voices raised. "We cannot fight this," one said. "Our weapons are useless," another cried. The chair, a massive creature with stone-like skin, slammed his staff onto the floor. "Silence. We will reclaim order." But even as he spoke, his chest tightened. A memory surfaced. A lost child he had abandoned centuries ago. And with it, a weight of regret he could not ignore. For the first time, the Council realized human emotion could not be measured, contained, or destroyed. It was alive. Back on Luna Base, Ilara Wynn and Dr. Koresh watched the unfolding chaos through the last remaining communications channels. Ilara sat on a bench, hands clasped around the faintly glowing crystal. "Do you see it, Koresh?" she asked. "The galaxy is feeling." Koresh nodded slowly, still overwhelmed by the intensity of his own emotions. "Everywhere I look. Hope, fear, joy, grief, all of it. And it's all connected." Ilara smiled faintly. "It's beautiful, isn't it? They thought we were weak. They called us irrational. But this," she tapped the crystal, "this is what makes humans unstoppable." Across hundreds of light years, fleets halted mid-battle. Generals lowered weapons they had sworn never to release. A Threxan admiral, furious moments ago, wept quietly in his command seat as the memory of his dead mentor surfaced in his mind. Even hardened mercenaries, trained to ignore pain and fear, felt guilt, joy, and love in a single moment. The wave had reached them all. In the Galactic Council's capital, chaos became hysteria. Advisors screamed orders, but the soldiers refused. Computers flashed errors, alarms rang endlessly, yet the crews could not focus on killing or controlling. One council general, known for his ruthless campaigns, paused and looked around at his officers. He saw them trembling, some crying openly. "What is this?" he whispered. A young Velthari officer, pale and shivering, answered him quietly. "It's humanity." Koresh watched all of this from Luna Base, realization dawning. They don't understand. They can't stop it. Human emotion. It spreads faster than light. Faster than any weapon they've built, Alara nodded. And it doesn't destroy. It doesn't hurt. It connects. Koresh's voice trembled slightly. But they fear it. They will try to fight it. Let them, Alara said. Her eyes glowed with quiet determination. They may have armies, weapons, and fleets. But we have what they cannot understand. What they cannot calculate. She leaned close to Koresh and whispered, heart, courage, compassion. On a distant world, a massive council warship prepared to fire on a human colony. The captain, a reptilian commander, froze mid-order. A flood of human emotion crashed into him. The memory of laughter, a mother's lullaby, the joy of a child playing in the sun. He dropped his weapon, fell to his knees, and began to cry. Every crew member followed. Even the ship's AI systems glitched, struggling to process the overwhelming surge of feelings. The galaxy had learned a lesson no council, no scientist, no weapon could teach. Emotion was power. Koresh turned to Alara as the light from the crystal pulsed gently. They will never stop it. They cannot destroy what they feel. Alara nodded. They will try. They always try, but humans, we adapt. We survive. And sometimes, we teach. He looked at her eyes wide. Do you think they'll ever forgive us? Not yet, she said with a soft smile. But they will understand eventually, they always do, if they can feel it themselves. The week ended with a silence the galaxy had never known. No fleets moved, no battles raged. Planets across the stars were quiet. Not in fear, not in surrender, but in contemplation. The galaxy had felt humanity's power. Not fire, not lasers, not weapons. It had felt us, and that was more than any council, any emperor, or any alien empire could ever destroy. Suspense hook for next part. The galaxy was quiet, but not safe. The council had seen the power of emotion. They had felt it, and they hated it. A storm was coming, one that would test every mind, every heart, and every being in the stars, and humanity was ready. The galaxy held its breath. For weeks, silence had stretched across planets, starships, and council halls. The human signal, a pulse of pure emotion, had spread farther than anyone imagined. And now, the Galactic Council was preparing its final strike. They would destroy Luna Base. They would erase the source of humanity's contagion. They believed they were protecting order. But humans, as always, had another plan. Inside Luna Base, Dr. Ilara Wynn and Dr. Koresh prepared the crystal. It was cracked, scarred from the previous surges of energy, yet its light pulsed steadily like a living heartbeat. Koresh looked at it warily. If they fire on this, it could. Ilara placed her hand over his. It could change everything, she finished. Koresh nodded. He had felt the truth already. The galaxy's smartest minds could not measure or control this. It was alive in hearts, not in sensors. Are you ready? Ilara asked. He swallowed. As ready as I'll ever be. Outside, the council fleet approached. Hundreds of ships, weapons primed, engines blazing. From orbit, Luna Base looked tiny, a fragile dot of life against the void. The council broadcast a final warning. Humanity, surrender immediately. Cease all experiments. Resistance will be destroyed. Ilara smiled faintly. They still don't understand. Koresh activated the crystal. The light surged, brighter than ever before. The energy moved through wires, through conduits, through the lab. Then it leaped into space. It was no longer confined. It flowed like a wave, like a heartbeat across light years, invisible yet undeniable. The council ships were the first to feel it. Officers froze mid-command. Weapons malfunctioned. Systems shut down, and then the impossible happened. They felt it: hope, fear, joy, grief, love. Each alien in the fleet experienced memories, sensations, and emotions they had never known. A soldier on one of the largest warships dropped to his knees, clutching his chest, tears streaming down scales that had never shed a single drop. Avora AI glitched violently, producing strange images of children playing. Colors never seen before, laughter echoing across its circuits. The galaxy was alive with feeling, unstoppable, uncontrollable. On the Council's capital world, chaos erupted. Advisors screamed. Generals refused orders. Even the chair, stone-like and towering, staggered as memories long buried surfaced. Loss, guilt, compassion. For the first time in history, no one could fight. No army could shoot. No AI could calculate. No empire could enforce obedience. The power of humanity, not fire, not destruction, but emotion itself, had rewritten the rules. Koresh turned to Ilara. "It's working," she nodded. "Not just working. It's proving it." Beyond science, beyond formulas, beyond logic, the crystal pulsed again, sending another wave. This time it reached worlds untouched before. Species that had never interacted now experienced compassion, regret, and hope, feelings stronger than any law or weapon. Even the Council's most loyal fleets felt it, one by one. The first real test came when the Council's strike fleet opened fire on a human colony on Mars. Lasers shot toward the surface, but the crews couldn't aim. They felt the emotions of every person on the colony: fear, love, grief. The weapons failed. The pilots refused to fire. Ships drifted in orbit, unable to harm the humans. Koresh whispered, "They can't stop it, because it isn't something you can stop." Ilara smiled. "It's something you have to feel." Across the stars, entire civilizations paused. Warriors dropped weapons. Governments ceased orders. Even machines hesitated, unable to process the surge of feeling. And somewhere deep inside the Council core, a single voice trembled. "We underestimated them." The galaxy had learned a lesson no law, weapon, or council could teach. Humanity cannot be measured, controlled, or destroyed. Koresh looked at the crystal, still pulsing faintly in his hands. "They'll try to rebuild. They always do. But they'll never forget this moment." Ilara touched his shoulder, and every being that felt it now carries a part of humanity with them. He nodded slowly. "Even the Council?" "Especially the Council," she said with a faint grin. The silence that followed was not fear. It was understanding. Across the galaxy, beings paused in awe. They had seen the impossible. They had felt what humans felt, and it changed them. The Council fleets retreated, not because of fear of death, but because they could not bring themselves to fire. The war was over, without a single ship being destroyed. Koresh watched the stars from Luna Base. "We've proven it," he said softly. Ilara nodded. "We proved that some things can't be explained, and that sometimes feelings are stronger than formulas, stronger than empires, stronger than war." The crystal pulsed one last time, sending a quiet rhythm across the galaxy. It was not light, not energy, not data. It was humanity itself. Koresh closed his eyes. He felt it in his chest. A heartbeat, not his own, but shared. And for the first time he understood.